Hey everyone, and welcome to a preview of Manor Lords. In this video we are going to talk about the current state, the upcoming early access and some exclusive gameplay. Not by me, by GameStar Germany and on Maurice Weber, but this is something we're going to talk about in a second. First of all, I just want to quickly go over my old footage from over a year ago when the demo releases, just to give you a bit of a context what this game is about and also why there is such a big hype. This is by far my most anticipated game that is not in the Planet franchise, by far. And I remember from all the medieval city builder games we have played on the channel in the last 2 years, and they have been quite some, this has been with a mile the best one, and especially because this is developed by only one person, and at least at the beginning, and also driven forward. It is so different from all the other games that it just brought so many new things to the table, and I had such a blast. I think I've never played a demo that was limited in time so extensively and excessively like I have a year and a half ago. I think it was only like a couple days available, and I think I almost used half of the hours available to play the game. But what makes the game so different from all the others? So the game itself is focused a lot more on realism, how the medieval times back then have been. So it's a lot different in terms of how specifically work and different categories are handled. The role of each individual house is a completely different role. While in most other games, houses are just the residential homes in which they're living, and you have a lot of specialized buildings for all the different needs. And by the way, here you can see the lovely plot system, which we're going to talk about in a detail bit more, because we have some more new footage of the lot system, or the plot system. It's very special, so we're going to talk about that. And these houses have a huge effect to the game, because with upgrading these houses, you get access to different types of craftings and craftsmen and different jobs and so on and so forth, and different skill levels as well. And everything is done via the houses, as it was more or less realistic in the medieval times. Also, the game will drive you in a super realistic and organic way of extending your city, because workforce has to be balanced out in a certain way, and a lot of these things really make the game feel so different, while it doesn't really look that different, because, well, first of all, it just looks absolutely fantastic. But hey, enough of the talking about the old gameplay, as you can see, and it already looked pretty damn good back in the day, but let's skip forward to what this looks like right now. And here we are with some brand new footage, and just as a little heads up, this is not mine. This has been premiered 2 days ago on GameStar Germany, and Maurice Weber has uploaded this to his own channel. And this new gameplay shows also including combat systems and stuff like that. But we want to check out, first things first, a village has to be built, and we are starting off like in most of the city builders with a tiny spot somewhere in the middle of the landscape with all the beginning needs and all the beginning resources you know from a lot of different games. However, from there we are taking it a little bit different than usually, because as I said, this is focused on a lot of realism aspects from back then. So you also need to take care of delivery of goods. You need, as you have seen, an ox, for example, to deliver more heavy parts to certain areas, and if not, people have to carry that by 2, so you need 2 workforce to bring, for example, a log, while if you have enough ox, for example, then you only need 1, and so on and so forth. It's very genuinely organic and perfect. You can see this wonderful lot system over here is what sets the game apart, and especially if people played City Skylines, you know how frustrating it is if you can't put buildings organically in a non-90-degree angle. And this game shows how it's done. However, it's not only for aesthetics, but you can also you use these bigger lots, for example, to put more plants in, because people themselves can use their backlots to produce goods themselves. You know, these gardens become very essential to your very own gameplay, because people produce their own goods, and if you give them the chance to sell those things on a marketplace, they can even sell their own goods. So you earn money by having taxes, but they earn money by selling their own goods, and so people have food without you having bigger farms, for example. You still need bigger farms and, you know, crop and chicken and whatever, but you can do this a lot different than usually. But also, workforce is something we have to keep an eye on. In the demo, upgrading the buildings was basically the last thing you could do in the demo, and from there you couldn't really go on. But obviously, as this is now further fleshed out, buildings upgrade over time, and the people become craftsmen and so on and so forth. And as soon they hit a new level, as you know from Anno, for example, they don't want to do all the jobs, for example, that are, meant for the people who just have their wooden sheds, for example. So you have to balance that out. But you can see a wonderful marketplace over here where goods have to be brought and then have to be sold. So also a very well-known mechanic. But you can also go first person through, and if you remember my gameplay back then, you can also do this. By the way, top right, this is the wonderful Maurice who is playing this game. He's also someone I've not really met personally, but I've had a lot of meetings together with him without knowing each other. Last time around, we sat together in this crane to play City Skylines last year. That was also fun. But yeah, so this is a wonderful moment to talk about the different areas of Manor Lords as well. Now, it's not only about building a city and also keeping your people alive, because they also need, for the wintertime seasons and some stuff, needs to be looked at by giving them firewood, and also at a certain point they need clothing and water access, church access. So these things more or less remain the same, as you know that from many other games. But the way it's integrated is just different. It's not really, plopping down a couple of things like in other games and everyone is fulfilled. You really have to go into the details, checking out every single lot, providing it with upgrades. You can upgrade every single house with a lot of things. Like you can give them access to build accommodations for other people to work at their own house. So they can build, for example, a little townhouse in their backlot in which people can come and craft something. So it's not really that you put down the smithy, for example, but you actually give the people permission to become smithy, and then the house and everything around becomes smithy. So it's kind of crazy to see how this all works out. I haven't played this myself, so I hope I explained that somewhat correct. This is what I got from following the process and the gameplay over here. But nevertheless, no matter who has been able to play the game, no matter who has reported about the game, everyone is so hyped and so positive, because this game just feels different and has such a different approach to the genre that I can't wait to get my fingers on it. By the way, can't wait. 26th of April is the date of the dates. This is the day where this game is finally released into official early access, and everyone can just buy it and grab it and play it. But we can also quickly talk about the combat system. Also, let's take this moment to just embrace the graphics. Doesn't that look absolutely fantastic and realistic? Like, everything about this little field over here feels so much cozy and nice, and then all of a sudden you have the combat on it. It feels so much more realistic, not staged, and you can see how big of a movement these troops have. And it just generally reminds me of Cossacks back in the day, which is a game I still love to bits. The original Cossacks European War was one of my favorite medieval games I've played, and I really like the combat system in that one. But this takes it even further, and obviously, to create your groups and so on, you have to obviously make sure that your people living in your city will be trained and so on, and obviously everyone in the city can fight, and it's just a lot more organic. It's just a lot more integrated into the whole game, while it's a little bit detached in other games where you basically on the one hand have your building process, and on the other hand you have your military process, and as soon as you have a big army, you just build that huge fence around your city is well protected, and everything else just kind of happens outside. This is not how it is done in this game. This is a lot more integrated into everything. You can obviously call for everyone to fight, but then they are not as trained as other ones, for example, so you need a lot more mass of people to defend from a better skilled and better trained army, even if they are like lower in count. So really crazy, and the developer has really spent a lot of time with a lot of different surveys on Twitter to refine the system, to refine the overlays, to make sure that you have a very good overview at each situation of your fight. And again, I can't really tell exactly how this all turns out and how it feels in the game, but as far as I can tell from looking at it, oh my god, am I hyped. But anyways, so we are looking at a couple of last seconds of the exclusive gameplay and footage we had here. I can only say I am absolutely hyped, and I will play the out of it, because I cannot wait to have finally a medieval game looking so beautiful, but also bringing so many new things to the table. And you can now go crazy in the comments with ideas to what our village is. I have also some ideas already to do something more creative with the game, but as I cannot tell if it's working or not, I better shut up here. And I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Let me know in the comments down below if you're as hyped as I am, and if so, what are you going to do with the game? So I talk to you in the next one. Have a good one, and goodbye.